Now, as you all know, for the longest time now, Kathleen Kennedy has been causing a lot of trouble with past Star Wars projects like the sequel trilogy, and even, of course, some of the standalone Star Wars TV shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Boba Fett, as well as a handful of other projects out there. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about the new universe between both Favreau and Filoni is that as of right now, it really is all about giving the fans what they want to see from Star Wars Legends and exactly how that's going to mix together with the current canon material, right? So John and Dave, they do have to make some compromises here and there and really kind of, find ways to create that balance. And I think that that is their strength. They really know how to create a balance. What's too much, what's too little, what's right and what's wrong. Now, where we stand today is a very big deal because what they are about to do and what they are about to announce at next year's Celebration and D23 event has a lot to do with exactly how the shows are going to expand the Mandoverse and different eras of the franchise. Now, one thing in particular that has a lot to do with creator George Lucas has a lot to do with him taking over Kathleen Kennedy of a specific Star Wars project that we're going to be talking about right now, that Disney executives recently gave the go-ahead to actually make this happen, and to really give the fans something true to look forward to. So as you all know, George has been working very closely with John and Dave for a very long time now, and this is probably the biggest step forward in the right direction for Lucasfilm and exactly how it's the very beginning of truly excluding Kathleen Kennedy. Now on top of this, with Lucasfilm and Disney now preparing to expand the Star Wars roadmap, creators Favreau and Filoni are also working around the clock to bringing Star Wars back to its roots. Now, it's noted that currently one of the biggest developments over at Lucasfilm has to do with what recently happened with Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas. Now, it's noted that Disney executives recently fired Kathleen Kennedy from the new series Star Wars Mandalore as a producer, and that now George Lucas is taking over her position as a producer to take care of the franchise and this particular story. Star Wars Mandalore is an upcoming Star Wars live-action series that will focus on Mandalore itself, Bo-Katan, Tar Vizsla, as well as flashbacks to the Mandalorian and Jedi War that will be a big focus by Favreau and Filoni as well. Initially, Kathleen Kennedy was attached to this project as a producer to take care of the business end of things, as well as other aspects. However, that is now no longer the case, and Disney recently convinced Lucas to join them on this project as a producer that is now in the early stages already. So let me just pause here quick. Now, Star Wars Mandalore, in case you guys did not know, we talked about this many times, is that it was initially just laid out as the Bo-Katan series, because it's going to take place in present time as well as the past, right? The past being the story of Tar Vizsla and the Mandalorian and Jedi War. Now, this is a big thing, because what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing essentially is that The Mandalorian as a series is basically a build-up to Star Wars Mandalore. Alright, so Mandalore is going to be like the big next step for Favreau and Filoni once The Mandalorian comes to a close. Again, we've said this many times, but Favreau openly stated that he has plans to expand The Mandalorian only if Season 4 proves to be successful. And that could very well lead up to a Season 6, he said. Now, depending on where Mandalore comes into play, they might want to focus on that more so, while they tell the Mandalorian story on the side. They have a lot of different techniques that they can actually pursue. Now, this thing in particular, of Lucas taking over Kennedy as a producer, is a big deal for multiple reasons. Number one, Lucas knows how to handle a property, especially when it comes to the business end of things. I think that way back in the day, with the prequels, right, especially with Revenge of the Sith, they had a great marketing campaign. Probably one of the most successful marketing campaigns out there that really promoted Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi and the fall of Anakin Skywalker. it was everywhere, you know, it was just everywhere, and they did it perfectly. It wasn't just commercials, I mean, it was in retail, it was in restaurants, it was just everywhere for that movie. So they want to boost their marketing style with these new upcoming Star Wars shows as well. And that brings us to the next thing that I really have to touch on here, is that Disney, of course, is slowly but surely removing Kathleen Kennedy from specific projects as a producer while they work on replacing her fully with a new president to take control of Lucasfilm. Jerry Bruckheimer is the top candidate right now to replace her, but with Star Wars Mandalore now in better hands with Lucas instead of Kennedy, Disney is very optimistic about the show and is very excited to show fans The Mandalorian and Jedi War in the new upcoming Star Wars canon. The series is set to also focus on the fate of the world Mandalore and the aftermath of this war that takes place. So, I think that a lot of fans should really read up on The Mandalorian and Jedi War. It's both, by the way, in canon and in Legends, and you can kind of get a lot of lore, you know, and research out of that if you read up on it. Now, obviously, Lucas taking over as a producer is the biggest step in the right direction. I think that, you know, it's not too work-heavy for him. This is the perfect kind of role for him as, you know, somebody who created Star Wars way back in the day and really making a big comeback with Favreau and Filoni. This is probably the biggest example of Lucas really taking control properly of a franchise, of an IP too. Now, when you look at this, Star Wars Mandalore, alright, we talked about this too, and how John and Dave are treating it as the evolution of The Mandalorian as a show. It's going to transfer into Mandalore. And they're kind of keeping that similar brand intact, right? That overall name of the series is kind of similar to The Mandalorian, and I think it's a very good marketing attempt. But given that Mandalore is basically a Bo-Katan-centric show that's going to go back into the past, half and half, that's going to feature all those great other things like Tar Vizsla, The Mandalorian and Jedi War, and how that leads to the aftermath of their home world. There's a lot of great things that can come out of this, and I think that we're now officially in better hands. Kathleen Kennedy would have surely destroyed the show. You know, even if she wasn't creatively involved, she would have destroyed the marketing of the series. Who they were able to hire, what kind of budget they were going to get. That initially was all in control of Kennedy, that is now falling into the hands of George Lucas. They want to get this thing out, by the way, by 2025. And if you think about it, it's not all that far away. I mean, it's basically almost 2023 already. And before you know it, it'll be here on Disney+. So overall, you know, I think that we are heading in a better path for the franchise. There's a lot of great things on the horizon. Star Wars Mandalore, I think, is going to be very much, you know, in spirit with what was done in Legends when it comes to The Mandalorian and Jedi War. A very detailed series of battles that was very actually violent, that John and Dave are definitely going to take advantage of that. So, overall, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.